Well, howdy y'all. This here is Guardian of Ultima coming back to you with another video today for RUO Scams. The only place to go when you are looking for a shard. And today we're going to be talking about why you shouldn't play Ultima Online in 2024. That's right, it's a bit of a step away from my videos for the beginning part of the season, at least. I think originally I only started making these videos to defend myself against slander that was coming from moderators, namely Macro Planet, who publicly chose to ban me, officially speaking, on his account Macro Planet on the Ultima Online subreddit, when I did something he said I was allowed to do, which was to be critical of moderators and of moderation policies. In particular, I was critical of, I posted that I wanted there to be more timely moderation, not just on the subreddit, but everywhere in the community. And he said that I could do that, and then he banned me for doing that. He banned me publicly. Part of the, I felt like it was trolling because I had been asking in that thread for, reasons for bans to be transparent and professional, right? Professional meaning, you can give the reason for ban in private. You don't need to put the person on blast in public. This user has been banned. You're all very, we love you all, is I think what he said, right? And, so I basically rushed to YouTube to put out some information that would help clear my name, because it was obvious to me that I was going to be slandered like many other critics have been in the past in the Ultima Online community. And so today we're going to be talking about that and why I feel like it's important that people are warned not to play this game, because there are just, in my opinion, the players are not enforcing a code of conduct that's healthy, right? The code of conduct that the players are enforcing is basically, if you talk bad about a shard that I have items on, it doesn't matter if we're friends for years and years before that, you're bad. or whatever, and if there's any slander going on about you, I'm going to buy into it because it suits me, I guess. At least it seems like that's what's going on, because we still have Macro Planet moderating the subreddit, despite, me pointing out all the mod code of conduct violations. And, that is what is going to need to change no matter what. And I feel like a lot of players, including old friends of mine, I'm going to show you some screenshots today of what I've been dealing with during this harassment campaign by Macro Planet, by certain individuals in the emulation community, according to Punkte, who go around and talk about me behind my back and make sure people know never to listen to me or whatnot, right? At least that's what Punkte was talking about in the last video. So we're going to look at that as well. I think I really want to use this time to dispel some false narratives that are the latest false narratives that have been justifying this campaign of harassment against me and so many other critics in the past. And unfortunately, part of the reason that I created this channel is because I wanted to protect players, because players have actually been hurt in the past because of these people and what they're doing. And so we're going to talk about that a bit as well. First, I'm going to show you this screenshot that was sent to me by a player in the community named Spino. Spino went to talk about, timely moderation in the Ultima Online Discord channel, right? This is a channel that at the beginning of the season I mentioned looks like it was created by the Ultima Online subreddit mod team, solely to facilitate advertisement for free shards, which they also seem to be planning to cancel on the subreddit itself, right? So we talked a lot about that in the first video, and I know that the first video and some of the other videos as well are not the most well organized pieces of work. It's hard to follow. I mean, even I just watched the first video, and I understand, like, it's hard to follow at the beginning, right? This is because I rushed basically to YouTube to defend myself against this harassment campaign, which I also knew was coming beforehand. And so I had done my homework, and I wanted to share a lot of information with you. I mean, I don't even know. I think I got 12 videos in the last 4 months. That's how long season 1 has been going. It's only been just 4 months now. So we're talking like, 1/3 of the year. And anyways, this Spino, a bunch of us got together because we had talked about, I had been banned for this timely moderation comment that I had been asking for more timely moderation, and I had been banned. And so a bunch of us got together after there was this one shard, this casino time shard, that appeared on the Ultima Online subreddit, posted by a 2-month-old account named OK Ride. Yeah, 2 months old here. Let's take a look at that. 2 months ago, so October 8th, 2023. This person doesn't have a very long history. They posted this thread. It's just one casino with wall-to-wall slot machines, and it doesn't look like it was very well decorated. They didn't really give a lot of information about their shard, and they weren't willing to give, Discord details. Even in the thread, it was, PM me for the Discord details for this casino, this virtual casino shard, apparently, that I'm pushing here and on this new account. It's very sketchy, and there are rules about this that exist to protect people from these types of scams. However, in terms of advertisements for free shards, it says advertisements about free shards must be done in a way that adds to this community. Post screenshots and detailed information about the shard. Put the details in there. What's going on with the shard? A legitimate, they spell legitimate wrong because they don't know how to spell it there. A legitimate website must also be established with enough information about the free shard to, to be not sketchy, I guess. Because it says, however, if the service seems sketchy, then the advertisement will be removed without warning, right? I've been asking for these rules to get updated for a long time. They have just broad terms like no player guild free shard drama permitted. You're not allowed to talk about drama or whatever they can label as drama. They can label criticism as drama if they want, and just abuse their critics. Like, this is what I'm saying is going on. So it says, no conspiracies about developers, shard operators, other players, right? But still, like, if am I allowed to say this is a casino shard? It looks sketchy, right? Or is that a conspiracy about a shard operator? It only serves to stifle criticism, I think, some of these rules. Anyways, I'm looking at who's posting in this thread. Orochimaru says looks cool. No, it doesn't. Moron. This guy's a shell. I really don't like him. Here's OK Ride. It says, if you're interested in trying it, message me for Discord details, right? That's your immediately you should be like, this is red. This is a red flag right here. No, take care. Like, I just have a passion for UO, but I primarily am just here to plug Outlands, right? Because I'm a shill. So, always there to plug that Outlands, right? Same as this Nosfurious character, who has a 2-year-old account with striking 33,000 post karma, or I guess comment karma. And these comments, I looked through his history. We're going to go through that a little bit, but take that with a grain of salt, because this person is a rage baiter, it looks like. They just like to go to different subs like, who am I the asshole is the one subreddit, or am I the asshole? And so every post is like, am I the asshole in this situation? So every comment is going to be either you are the asshole or you're not the asshole. The other person's an asshole. And so that's why I say it's like, he's basically just trying to get, looks like, post karma from that. And that's the sole reason that it looks like he's doing that. In terms of posts on Ultima Online, not a lot of his top posts. Like, you have to go way down a lot of his posts to start seeing Ultima Online in his top upvoted ones. And they get like 30, 40, you know, whatever likes on some of his threads. Almost all of his history is, it starts out with, you know, a post about Endless Journey, which gets removed by the auto moderator because, you know, you want to have a 2-month-old account at least with some karma to be able to post here, right? And you know, so let's just take a look here. Casino looks awesome, but did it only snow at the entryway? So he can obviously see this is really low effort, but still just saying casino looks awesome. And I'm surprised he didn't say a plug for Outlands, but with this this flare system, which, you know, we talked about a little bit here, if you're looking for a shard on our Ultima Online, you can just click the recommended shard flare. That's another one of the flares, right? This Macro Planet came in and added this recommended shard flare, and all his favorite shards are listed, and there's only 5 of them, and that's it. Or sorry, there's only 4 of them: Renaissance, Official, Outlands, and Siege, right? When I originally got banned, you know, people had suspected that this Macro Planet didn't like me because I was being very critical of Siege Perilous, which I had a hand in the development on. And, you know, it kind of, he's pinning posts all the time, and it looks like maybe he's just pinning posts so that he can pin, you know, bad posts, right? Posts that are, they seem a little bit deceptive. I think I went through that in the last video, right? Anyways, this casino time looked a little bit sketchy, and so I looked into it. I noticed that there was this other post, Trammel Time. So it's not the same as Casino Time, but this shard is Trammel Time, posted by QBradQ, who I think might have been posting some false narratives in the comments before. Apparently this is, he posted because he wants to post about Trammel Time. It's, I guess, a Trammel server. It needs alpha testing servers, and it didn't really get a lot of attention, of course. I think, you know, maybe there's an initiative out there. People want you to think that, you know, there's this big calling for a Trammel UOR server, right? But it doesn't really make a lot of sense to want that, because, in my view, the UO Renaissance era is about, you know, spear stun, and I know some of these things came a little bit later, but I think when people are talking about the UOR combat rule set, right, they're thinking about the spear stun, the crushing blow on the maces, and all of those things are for PvP. It's not really for PVM, right? Although, you know, it can be fun in PVM. It's just not really, like, it doesn't really line up to me. I question these players who really just want Trammel, because at the end of the day, it's just a lower risk environment, so it's a lower reward environment. And why would you want to subscribe to that? Do you not plan on getting skilled at this game ever enough to defend yourself in combat, or, you know, at least prepare or plan ahead to, you know, not lose so much when you die? And everybody gets rich over time that just plays this game over time. You eventually have enough loot that it shouldn't really matter if you die, because you're not going to lose that much, right? I just wonder about this QBradQ fellow with the Trammel Time. But let's go back to Casino Time, where there's some Outland shills in here saying that, you know, they don't see any problem with it, of course. This Nosferius and his 32,000 likes or whatnot, always talking about the Outlands and the Retail Atlantic server. That's interesting, isn't it? That's what he's shilling for all the time. Here's an older post of this Nosferius. It says, I avoided Outlands at first. I had no interest in playing UO without Britain Bank and the other familiar sites, but now I'm in love with Outlands. I'm hooky-ducked, like hooky-hooked. And here's one reason why. My number 3 reason for why I love Outlands is that the admin team stays behind the scenes. They don't get involved in the day-to-day activities of the game or community. They are almost non-existent if you aren't looking for them. Yeah, tell that to Krrios, right? Tell that to me when I posted a video about, you know, mostly our Ultima Online and a little bit of, you know, the false narratives and stuff coming from Outlands, and all of a sudden I'm getting slandered to my whole guild, all my friends, everybody in that whole server and community. But Owen still hasn't come to the Discord to say anything about, to defend himself or anything like that. None of these people will come in and defend themselves. And professional admin team, like, does anybody who's watched any of the videos that I've posted think that this is a big thing for Outland? They're almost the best admin this guy's ever seen in his whole life, I think he says in this thread here. It goes off a little bit with the Rem coming and pointing out that number 3 is way off, right? It's a ridiculous thing. What are you talking about? Everything else might look good, but what are you even saying here, right? And I've said in the past that, something that really, kids will come and look for, I think, that they want to get into games. A lot of games have paywalls these days. And so I wonder if the next generation is growing up to look for games where they can convince their mom that it's professional enough to at least spend some money on there, right? And so that could be why an outright shill for Outlands would be talking about the professional admin team. He doesn't really do that very much, though, I noticed in his post history since the Rem came and cleared things up here about that's not really true. But I noticed that this nice Krrios said that he's played half a dozen different free shards over the past 10 to 15 years and have had a completely different experience on Outlands. It's just ridiculous. You have a 2-year-old account. You've been playing here for 10 to 15 years. I seen a recent thread by this person that said there's not a PK problem on Outlands or something like that. And he scratched his character name out because he doesn't even want to share any of his information about who he really is, right? Especially not on this shill account, which is an obvious UO Outlands shill account. And I really would like to, I really wish that I was a moderator here on this Ultima Online subreddit, because I would have not allowed this casino time post. It would have never gotten through. And I feel terrible thinking about how some poor Ultima Online player who probably got Ultima Online for Christmas one year, and now it's Christmas is coming and they're getting those feelings of nostalgia remembering Ultima Online, and they're coming to the subreddit to see what's around. Maybe they have a bit of a gambling problem or something, and they see this shard and it looks pretty professional, but they don't really see the problems, like the red flags like I see, but Nice Krrios doesn't, and Orochimaru can't see it, and the subreddit moderators can't see the problem here, even though, there's clear rules about this. And it had to be a mom that came to tell me about it, because I'm not on here all the time, because I'm not moderating it, right? I'm making these videos instead. And that's basically it, right? If I didn't have to make these videos, I could just moderate this sub all the time. It would be fine. Casino time wouldn't have made it through, and I wouldn't have to feel bad thinking about, 1 or 2 players who PM this guy for the details and were asked for money, basically, and now they've got buyer's remorse, so they might even spend more money, and they might sit in there all Christmas, ruining their life, spending all their credit card off on nothing for no reason, and it could have been prevented. But these moderators actually banned me for suggesting more timely moderation, and since then all they do is harass me behind the scenes. Here's Spino's pointing out, Macro Planet, best to ignore the troll. He's still calling me the troll, right? And so in terms of dispelling the false narrative, who is the troll? Macro Planet is going around slandering me like he did with the mod position when he's publicly banned me, although he's unbanned me at this point. Still, that was characterized as a second chance by him, and he even mentioned that he thinks I'm a bad person at the same time. It's like, well, why are you unbanning me? Why did you ban me in the first place? These are all good questions, right? Even after casino time, it looks like this harassment is from after that, when that mom got out to me and pointed that out, and then I went to the subreddit and said, look, this is not supposed to be allowed, so can you please just get rid of it? We don't need this. And they, they're like, thanks for bringing this to our attention. It's like, well, why should I have had to do that, right? This got past you. So maybe it's time to start thinking about updating those rules, guys, about, false advertising and all that stuff. But they're not going to do that. These guys have a long history of just removing hearsay about certain shard developers. Not all shard developers, certain shard developers. They've allowed harassment campaigns against, UO Forever staff and everybody else. But then all of a sudden, UO Outlands, you're not allowed to criticize them at all. And it's just ridiculous. It's just, there's been a lot of favoritism. Also, so this person, we got together and we talked about this casino time stuff. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to take this channel in a direction that warns people away from Ultima Online from now on. Season 2 isn't going to be as much of an info dump as Season 1 has been. Every one of my videos in Season 1 has at least 3 shards, or 3 situations that I'm dealing with, right? And so in Season 2, I'm going to break everything down into shorter 15-minute long videos, and I'm probably going to do a bunch of YouTube shorts, one for each of these shards that I've covered, and just to kind of point things out in a more clear and concise way, right? But for the record, it's not easy to do all of this homework and bring it to your attention, and I feel like I've received all kinds of criticism from every angle for every small little thing possible. Well, bad actors in the community just are still not being criticized by anybody. As far as I can tell, right? Maybe that's happening and I'm just not seeing it because they're abusive to their critics and they just delete criticism. So, so we got together basically and we talked about how things are going to get worse. And now I think players are going to start speaking out a little bit more about, better moderation and stuff like that, no matter what it takes, right? My theory is just that these people know that they're not going to be held accountable, and so they're just abusing their critics as hard as possible. And, hopefully that person gets hurt or something, I guess, because where does it end, right? And in part, I did start this channel because somebody did get hurt, and we're going to talk about that as well. But, here's this Rex, agreed it's dumb. He's saying, I think, to somebody about there's no recourse when people are talking up lies behind your back. Well, let's just take a look at that. Because I've got some screenshots here by Rex. Now let's see here. So he was talking to Soulless. These screenshots are from Spino. It says they say some rhetoric like our aim is to prevent toxicity or something. I guess the Soulless was saying. I think they said that I mentioned them in a video. That was what somebody mentioned to me. They said I mentioned them, but I don't remember who Soulless is. So, come to my Discord channel, say who you are, whatever was said about you and why it's wrong. That's your recourse. That's how it works here. Discord link is in the description. It's on our UO scams. It's everywhere. Always inviting you to come in and talk freely about, what defend yourself, right? If that's what you want to do. That's your recourse. So Rex is saying that, there's no recourse. He's showing a picture of something I said here, but saying that there's no recourse. When people are talking up lies behind your back. A little bird forward this to me. It's like, do I want to confront the guy and call him out or just let him continue to scream at the wind and ignore it? Well, let's see what was said. Somebody asks, is Requiem the one you need to sign up and get whitelisted before you can play? And then I said, wouldn't surprise me, actually. I think they do that on Requiem. I actually do think they do that, but I'm not 100% sure if that's what the lie is. Come and tell me that, because I don't even know. It's ran by that Rex guy who came here to spam. I should take a look into this guy, right? And Rex came in, and, he was one of a bunch of members who just one by one kept continuing to criticize me for my videos or marketing or vulgarity or whatever, And it's just interesting because it's true, I was a little bit more vulgar before. I called people trams who just didn't want to, PvP and stuff like that. And I guess Rex's issue was that it would hurt this movement for me to do that. I guess, right? At least that's what he said before, when he left. But since then, these I'm doing my best for the cause, right? And, you know, not being vulgar at all, and he's still not, you know, he still hasn't come around, he still hasn't come back to the channel, you know, he's still not participating. So does he really care about the cause? Meh. That's up to you to decide, right? But this is a false narrative that these people have no recourse, because their recourse is right here. You know, you can come right to the channel. I think Spino mentioned that. This person said, I question your authenticity. You have the same rambling typing style as the Guardian. So he's just being critical of me instead of, you know, saying why he doesn't have recourse to come to my channel. Your Discord account was created today. Always talking to Spino, okay? These facts don't look good or trustworthy. That you can come and rejoin the channel to defend yourself. What's not trustworthy about that or good about that? You can absolutely do that. You're not banned from the channel. So why would I rejoin a channel that has slandered me with lies? I've got better things to do with my time. So he's just saying, you know, originally he's complaining because there's no recourse, and now he's admitting that he just never really wanted recourse at all. That wasn't the point of what it's not what he really wants, right? He really just wants people to think I ramble, and he really just wants to burn me, right? Burn my reputation by slandering me, and, you know, hopefully that works. And it does, unfortunately. Let's take a look here at some friendships that I've lost since this campaign of harassment against me. Shallow Tip says, sorry, dude, not a journey I'm willing to take with you. When I posted the video about Rudebeck's castle being deleted by Evolution staff, for which Rel Expo, aka Expo, an admin from Outlands, was also or is also an admin. So not long after I posted a video about potential extortion on Outlands, where Owen took a player to jail who may or may not have violated rules. In that case, you casted invisibility on someone's pet, so there was no rule violation. Either way, though, you don't bring someone to jail and say that they're not contributing enough to the shard, right? It's just not something that you do. You're not allowed to do that, right? You don't bring people to jail, even if they've broken rules, on a free shard that you're advertising as free and hosted professionally, and then immediately be unprofessional and tell the person repeatedly that they're just not contributing enough to the shard, right? And that the only thing different about what he was saying to this person in jail rather than in public when his friend came to defend him was that he didn't contribute enough to the shard. Nor the community. But the community part he said in public. But the shard part was the only part that he said in private. And so it seemed like, you know, he really was upset that these people were talking about it in the public Discord instead of keeping it behind closed doors. But then behind closed doors, the only difference I see is that I have to wonder, you know, why did that need to stay behind closed doors? I don't understand. And why does it make a difference towards the application of the rules and enforcement of the rules if somebody donates a lot or not, or contributes a lot to the shard or not? Like, what difference does that make, right? And so, you know, if Owen didn't mean contribute to the shard in terms of donations, then, you know, he should have said that by now, but he hasn't said that at all. So, you know, it's very unfortunate. Here's another relationship lost. You know, I said, what happened with Drick anyways? DR1CK from Sagas, you know, the guy quit Sagas. He was a developer there. And, you know, I had put out a video that talked about Sagas basically slapping the original founders of Defiance, which they were pretending to be a spiritual successor of, with safe zones and trammel mechanics and stuff, on this server that was clearly Feluca first, right? They would have never done that. And, you know, this Drick guy, maybe he agreed with me because he left the staff. He left them high and dry. He had a couple of important roles that they needed to fill, and we're not certain that they've done that yet. You know, the guy took off. He didn't want to do it right. And yet they're still trying, right? They're still trying to do that. They still want to pretend to be the DFI spiritual successor. And so I just basically am warning my friend, saying, you know, what happened with Drick anyways? Any idea? I guess the guy quit Sagas. Could be a sign that's not all that legit. He's just like, you are delusional. At first I thought you were cool, but you know nothing. Like, okay. Right? That's a little strange after, you know, a long time that we've been friends on Discord, man. Just, wow. Were you excited for sagas or something, buddy? Because, yeah, you know, this is what I'm saying. If you're gonna be selfish and you wanna just play sagas because you want a shard and you don't care if it's corrupt, well, I'm gonna have to start putting out videos that make sure that those shards that you're playing are not gonna last forever, right? Now let's take a look here. We'll go back to this nice Krrios guy, you know. We already went through that. Now we'll go on to Punk Day, right? And this is the ShadowWage launching post. He posted this on their launch day. This is the guy, if you remember, he basically posted this nonsense. When I was in his channel, he said you didn't actually read anything I responded to you, which was very hypocritical because he never really read anything I was saying. I was actually trying to be as cordial with you as I can. This guy's explaining the tribal brain issue from the Krrios video. Like, you can't make this stuff up, knowing full well who you were beforehand, because you inherently have a bad reputation among the majority of servers, and word gets around in the emulation community. He's basically saying that I inherently have a bad reputation, because naturally I should, because I'm critical of the emulation community. So I guess that's okay to have a harassment campaign going on about me, and this person doesn't really care about that. He doesn't see this channel as necessary, even though, you know, now with casino time we can see somebody could have been sitting in there wasting thousands of dollars on nothing, you know. It breaks my heart, right? That's why I made this channel, you know, to protect these people. And that's why it's necessary. It's necessary because I'm not a mod on the subreddit, right? For some reason, subreddit just keeps growing and growing, even though it's not really well taken care of. Rules are really lacking and very poorly, not very fairly applied. Anyways, this guy is basically saying that it's really hard for him to respect me because he feels like he knows full well who I am, just based on my reputation and word getting around. This is the guy who you would have to deal with on the ShadowWage Reborn server if you feel like you're being treated unfairly, you know? And he's also really proud of his ability to emulate. But emulators are built on logic, and this guy's logic, you know, he barely can debug his own, how his opinions are formed process, right? So it's just funny because I went and looked at his post on the Reddit. And, you know, he's still touting this as a kind of a brand new experience. Yet, he doesn't mention the website on here, which is kind of funny. Because he's basically, I don't know the history, because I asked, and, you know, I don't know the history of this this website thing, but, you know, Punk Day won't come to the channel and say, oh, here's the deal with the website. Here's the website, right? So you see that intro, right? You see how it says the ShadowWage Reborn logo's right there, and then there's some options here, and then you can kind of scroll down, and it's got this kind of background or whatever, right? And this kind of theme, right? But where have I seen that before? Ultima Online Forever. Oh, yeah. It's the UOF website. It's the same exact website with the same exact effects and the same logo right here, and a bunch less options even than the UOF website, which looks a lot more full, a lot more well done. You know, this is a website which is years and years and years old, right? Punk Day is somebody who has a bunch of shards, right? He doesn't just have one or two shards. He has I don't know how many shards he's got right now, but he's got like a shard multi-shard verse or something like that, and he's got a bunch of shards that you can log into, I think so, or at least throughout history he's had different shards at the same time. A T2A shard, I think. You might have made one of those sort of recently. This guy just keeps piling out the shards. He's not even making websites for him anymore. He's just, you know, he's fishing basically for people to come and play the shard. And what does he really care about, I think? You know, it kind of goes to show in the way that his shard is set up, I think, that it has this you know, slow skill gain, right? Don't ask him why he wants the slow skill gain, but he will say that he does have slow skill gain, right? I think that these people, some of these people who decide that they want to emulate the game rather than being a good player and being at the duel pits all the time, where you might be able to duel them once in a while. Some of these people that can't really play, they want to become emulator guys and run the shard, and that way, they can have one over on the skilled players that they usually can't do anything about, right? They can use their admin ability to kind of flex on the skilled players that, they can't beat otherwise, right? And this Punkte guy kind of strikes me as that. It's really important to him to get a successful shard, so he just keeps pumping out shards, right? Doesn't even care about the websites anymore. That's just my opinion, though, from as a player in this community for a long time. There's a really good power hour, so it's friendly with casuals who work for a living and have lots of money, right? And, if you think I'm just all talk here with this, let's take a look. I do have another picture here. I thought I had it up. I just got to open it now. This is something that you should see, though. This one was sent to me by somebody who just had joined this, the ShadowWage Reborn Discord. Here we go. Just going to crop this here. Thought I had this open, but let's take a look. This is what you see when you first join the ShadowWage Reborn Discord. It says you can pick your role, right? I think when you pick your role, you might get a color applied to your name because it'll be a Discord role that you can pick, right? And this one is funny. Lotto participant? Do you want to... It just says, want to win things? Join the lotto, right? So it's kind of weird. If you want, you can identify yourself as somebody who likes lotto, right? It just seems funny. Why do the shard owners want to know who likes lotto, Are they trying to figure out which ones of these players have gambling problems? And how much gambling is on here? Like, if you wanted to just select the blue, I like to fight monsters, and, I'm just a regular player. Gaining access... if you click this one, you gain access to the Discord games, such as gambling, right? Like, okay, so you can pick the lotto participant gambling, or you can pick the blue PVM gambling. There's some gambling going on over here on Punkte's channel. Maybe that's why he took such issue with the UO scams movement right off the bat, and didn't really he wasn't really able to listen to me very much, because he's much more comfortable with everyone just hating me and slandering me and bad reputation and word gets around and blah, blah, blah. And that's enough to make up your mind on me, I guess. Especially when you have such vibrant gambling on your shard, I suppose, right? Anyways, no, I think this movement, Punkte, is very necessary. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't. And maybe it wouldn't be if I was a moderator, because on this our Ultima Online subreddit, I just don't think that that's ever going to happen. And I don't think that it has anything to really do with me. I think it has a lot to do with their policy of wanting to remove hearsay about them and their friends and nobody else, and allow harassment against, everybody, basically. Shane Uo Forever got harassed there a lot. He was probably the first victim of Owen going around and slandering, and this emulation community going around and slandering someone really badly. It was Shane from UOF, and not all slander, because he definitely did some things wrong, right? And when we're talking about free shards, we're talking about amateurs. They're going to make mistakes. And part of the reason that I'm making these videos and made this channel is to help newbie admins figure out what not to do, right? What to do, what not to do, those types of things are important. Newbie mods need to understand, free speech and that kind of stuff. If they don't want drama, the way is to just not really go around banning players that are critical, right? And calling, criticism hearsay and drama and banning players. This guy was saying, we are going to simply remove the users and posts related. Like, they're not going to just censor, things they say are hearsay, mostly about shard developers, as we know. They basically just went on a banning crusade about anyone who said anything bad about Outlands for a couple of years there, right? And so we've all been asking for better moderation for a long time now. And you saw in video 1 what happened to me when I asked for better moderation. I was banned He tried to slander me, basically. What he first said, you know, originally I had said that I was talking about a friend of mine who got hurt by basically a harassment campaign that was going on. He was getting banned from Outlands. He was getting banned from UO forever. You could tell that he probably had a bad reputation in the emulation community or whatever, right? He was just getting banned nonstop, and eventually it really affected his life in a negative way, and his life is over now. So it's very sad, but it's very true. These harassment campaigns are terrible. Imagine somebody going behind your back just to get a heads up on you, and he wants to go and slander you to everybody, right? Like Owen does, and these guys are hiding behind the bans, right? They're hiding behind bans. There's Macroplanet's not going to come to RUO Scams to have a chat, but he's willing to call me a troll in all the channels that I'm banned from, right? He's hiding behind the bans, right? Rex is hiding behind bans, right? He doesn't want to come to the channel. He says, oh, why would I bother doing that? Well, you're the one who said you wanted recourse. That's your recourse. Take your recourse, man. If someone's talking about you in a channel that you're not banned from, go ahead and say how they're wrong. Like, I don't know. Do you allow, do you vet people that play your shards or not? I don't know. Some people do that. I've heard of that before. Maybe it's a policy that we got to get rid of. It just seems like a weird thing to do, but there's no reason to get hostile about it. I don't know if you do that or not. Say if you do it, right? That's all you got to do. Then I would know, and now everybody who watches this video would know, because I would have known that by now. That's your recourse. Anybody can come at any time, and I think it really says something that they don't. They haven't come to the channel at all. They're really hiding from this one. So people are seeing that, and a lot of people are seeing that. Let me take a look here. I'll show you the analytics if I can find them. I got channel analytics for you right here. Okay. This is how many people have watched the videos at the time I started recording this. It was a couple hours before I started recording this video. I took this screenshot, and this is the channel analytics. So I've had 8,500 views, right? And it's typically about 1/10 of that for watch time, right? These videos on average are about 45 to 50 minutes, so it's looking at 811 watch time hours. It's about 1,000 times that my videos have been watched fully through, even despite being almost an hour long, right? I've gained 46 subscribers, and without doing anything, the channel gets about 100 views every couple of days. So about 50 views a day. If you calculate that for a full year at this point, without me doing anything, people who are looking up Ultima Online, who are looking up Outlands, stuff like that, whatever the videos are about, I'm tagging these things and putting Ultima Online is the subject matter, and 50 views a day without doing anything. So in a whole year, that's like almost 20,000 views, I think. And still, these views are getting, 1 in 10 is watching a whole video, right? People are watching these videos, and these videos aren't good. Is Outlands extorting players? Is Outlands extorting players again? Is Outlands extorting handicapped children? This is gonna scare people away from Ultima Online for sure. That's gonna continue as well, because I'm not gonna stop. I want players to be protected from harassment campaigns and 14-year-old friends just being like, I play Outlands. I'm supporting your videos. I'm not supporting, the ending of harassment campaigns against these guys' critics, right? So, those are the facts, and this is before this video launches. So, in season 1, in 4 months, it's just been 4 months now, almost 10,000 views, 1,000 watches. And, right, I'm not doing this to grow this channel. This channel is irrelevant. The point is to protect players, right? And I'm very happy to see that players are watching these videos and learning, I hope, from them. There's a lot of information. Like I say, this season is not very well-rounded in terms of, I say informationally it's well-rounded. But again, organizationally, it's not very well-rounded, and so season 2 hopes to make up for that. But we'll see how that goes. It does take a lot of effort to put these. It does take a lot of effort to make these videos, and all of this investigation, it took a lot of time and effort and energy, and it's just not easy, right? I've gotten a lot of criticism. You know, there's a false narrative every week about whether or not I see things in too black or white of terms to be able to do this thing that I'm doing, and etc. So, well, let's take a look here at something else I wanted to talk about here. Is this UO Origins shard, the Dark Factions Origins? You could say, no pun intended, or maybe the pun is intended. It's just funny because what I mean when I say Dark Factions Origins is that Dark Factions was this Ultima Origins shard originally, and then there was a coup d'etat attempt to take over this shard by a co-owner, basically a verbal co-owner. So it's basically like two buddies get together and they're like, let's make a shard together, right? Essentially what happens is, at the end of the day, somebody actually owns the shard, and only one of them is going to own the shard, right? It's the person who has the software on their hardware. So that's kind of how it works. And there's always going to be this situation where only one player can own the shard, right? And so this situation happened 6 months ago. This was basically, before I started this, I was still exiting from Siege Perilous, which launched right before this shard, and a few weeks before this shard, I think. And anyways, it took me a long time to get around to this. Part of it was this Discord, from the staff split that happened. They ended up with a couple of different Discords, and I just couldn't figure out what was going on. So it took me a little while, but eventually I got to it. I went and I talked to both owners of, what is now still Ultima Origins, it's called, because the one shard owner had the Discord and the website in his name, and the other shard owner had the shard, right? And so let's read through this post. This was posted to Reddit by Ultima Origins, and it says, first and foremost, we apologize for public absence and attempting to move on without addressing several issues. Okay, it says, 1. The saves for our server were withheld from us due to unfortunate circumstances. This led to players losing everything they had earned for the period of time we had been live until then. We handled this by logging in. To the offending offspring shard and being on screen with the person's character, while verifying the status of the character as well as ownership of the house. No gold was transferred or given back at it says so no gold was given back. But this is weird because it says something about we logged into their characters to verify the status of the character as well as ownership of the house, right? What house? So I might understand that they migrated players' skills and their houses, but no gold. Well, gold has houses have a value, right? And, I don't know for sure, but I kind of heard that there were some pretty big houses after just a few weeks on this shard, so. Number 3 says, the nature and reasoning for this split is deeply rooted in morality and standards of conduct. Without going into too much detail, the way staff are handled by staff is above all else important, and any substance-driven negative situation would not be acceptable by our standards. These people dedicate time and effort for free to build these servers we know and love, and Ultima Origins stood up to protect that, and in the wake, we took a massive hit in more ways than one. Not sure how many of you are familiar with the concept of doublespeak, but if you're going to be bashing somebody, I think, an explanation is owed, and this isn't one. All right. So we will continue to exist and grow and thrive despite anything that is present now. We actively discussed rebranding and made a specific decision to continue being who we are, regardless of the immediate temporary consequences. It says, we will continue to uphold open, honest, and righteous morals. The only regret in this entire situation is the impact on players, and even though we did the best we could to make accurate accommodations for this situation, we were never offered access to the saves. We worked so hard within, and it was out of our control. Our goal is and has always been, and always has been, to drive Ultima Online in its classic form into the future for our kids and their kids' to enjoy. So thanks for your time, the Ordnance staff. It looks like professionalism, but it's really that faux professionalism that I mentioned in past videos, which is just fake professionalism, right? This is somebody who came to the subreddit to basically slander somebody with no evidence, right? And the first comment is indeed, anyone know what really happened and can let us know? I have followed the cryptic pseudo-corporate HR talk for a while now and just want to know what happened. Then this is the other owner, right? And his name is Sunny. He says right here, when Sunny asked Maduk something. So this is by Sunny. It says, hello, everyone. I do know what really happened. And until now, I have kept radio silent in the Reddit community. On Friday, May 26, 2023, Memorial Day weekend start, the Ultima Online shard named Ultima Origins underwent a coup d'etat led by shard owner Maduk, aka 30 Nickel, and supported by the shard social media expert and player Serotonin. At the time of the coup start, ownership was based on verbal agreement and legal or physical ownership was broken down as such. Right, so verbal agreement, let's make a shard together, buddy. You get the idea. Maduk owned the Discord and the DNS to ultimaorigins.com. And Sunny, the other shard co-owner, which is the person who posted this, owned the physical server and repo, as well as was personally providing all hosting requirements and paying for all expenses shard related. It says, during the process of the coup, Maduk made false accusations in the Ultima Origins Discord and then ran with their own accusations as their reason and their proof to proceed with the dismembering of the community and systematically banning anyone who could speak truth of the situation. When Sunny asked Maduk to provide proof of their claims, knowing very well they were false claims, Maduk remotely connected into my server through the remote access methods I had provided and made an attempt to sabotage the server and steal the save files. During this action, I was monitoring and watching at the time. I terminated his access and revoked all remote access and repo access that I had previously provided for Maduk. At this time, he made a declaration in the Discord that Sunny was sabotaging the server, was about to shut it down, and had stolen save files. A player reached out to me requesting that a new Discord be made so that players may start to join this Discord and be able to speak without getting messages deleted or being banned. Upon this request, the Dark Factions UO Discord was created and a Discord invite was sent out to a single player whom then spread the invite to other players. And within minutes, there was around 50 members that had left the Ultima Origins Discord and joined the Dark Factions UO Discord. At that time, there was 150 players online, and the server had never gone down. At the current time, the server, which is now known as Dark Factions UO, has been running since our go-live date on May 13th, 2023. Our server has not moved, it has not gone down except for patch updates, and the saves were never stolen. We are the original server and not some offspring. That is basically one of Maduk's lies. This new Ultima Origins UO shard was created solely by Maduk on May 27th in an effort to try using his DNS control to redirect traffic to a new server that he was hosting. He used the local copy of the repo he had and a physical server which I mailed him as my failover for weather events to spin up server and redirect traffic. At around 3 to 4 a.m. on the 27th of May, roughly 5 hours after telling his Discord that he would not shut off the DNS. He changed the DNS and redirected all traffic into a newly created server that had no saves or accounts. This is when they started a heavy slander libel campaign against myself and the Shard, and started doing live streams of them connecting to Dark Factions UO to add players' items, houses, and skills, using GM powers as a display of effort to recover what they were saying that I would not give back to them. Again, there's a false narrative that he didn't own the saves. He owned the saves, right? He attempted to steal them, and Maduke, he's saying attempted to steal them. I'm saying that they were owned by Sunny. Maduke attempted to steal them and failed, so now he is calling me the thief when the save files have never left the original server. And so he links the Dark Faction Discord and says chat history has never been deleted, and starting at the top of the server in general is all discussions that took place directly following, ready for anyone to read. Please feel free to connect, read, and ask players if you would like to understand. So this guy is giving a very thorough, very thorough specifics on what went down. The other person gave nothing. Please do not, however, join the Discord only to bash or talk negatively about Origins. While this was a very negative and unfortunate turn of events, we do not have any intention to continue to cast negativity on the UO community. At Dark Factions, we truly love Ultima Online and want all players to feel welcome and free to play without discrimination, and we do not want we do not support the spreading of hate, slandering, and libel that we have been witnessing. This is a game, and we are all here to have fun. Right? I hope this finds you all well. You're welcome to ask me any questions through DMs and via Discord if you'd like. Kind regards from Sunny. Right? And so basically, this is what Sunny has said has happened. And, this UO Origins, this is the Ultima Origins, this is the original poster. It's either, it looks like it's either Maduke or Serotonin is the other person's name. So it could be either one of them who posted this. However, I will say that, I did speak to both Maduke and Sunny about this. And Maduke seems to think that Sunny posted this. Thinks that Sunny is the original poster. And is sure that Sunny is the original poster of this. And, I said, do you have any proof of that? Or, it's kind of an extraordinary claim. Like, I can't discount that Sunny might have done that, but it doesn't seem like he did. Okay, he said, you're welcome to come to Origins Discord and speak with us directly, as is anyone. But then, why even make this post, right? Like, apparently this person was banning people. That's what some players are saying in here. Harry S. Not, and this 30 nickel is apparently Maduke. And so, he said, not sure. This is the only thing he said in here on this account, is not sure there's been an occurrence of this, but I feel as if there likely has to have been something similar, right? And, this isn't an uncommon occurrence, I don't think. When I talked to Maduke about it, he said that these guys seem to be doing quite well, and he felt like it seemed like the Serotonin who had joined Shard wanted power or something, and it was his opinion that maybe the Serotonin had twisted Maduke against him and manipulated him in a bid to get some power, right? That's what it seems to be the case in Sunny's point of view, right? But I didn't get any information when I talked to Maduke about this today. He didn't give me anything. He didn't say anything about anything, really. He said, the guy was unprofessional, but he wouldn't give any proof of it. He said it was all in voice, and, very much just wanted to move past it and everything, and, it's all in the past, right? I'm like, well, if it's all in the past, maybe the best thing for the community is for you guys to come together, It might be better, if you had somewhere different than this Ultima Online to go and talk your mind about a Shard owner, because, you're not really allowed to talk about shard owners, shard operators, or developers, right? It's really hard to say what you're allowed to say on here. And it's funny. This is the first browser tab that I opened on our Ultima Online. It was 11,550 viewers. And before I even got all the tabs open, it had gone up by like 3 viewers. Right, 11,553 right there. So, but, as promised, we're going to talk about the Guardian here and my history. But I did want to finish off by just saying, it might have been better. I invited Madhu to the UO Scams Discord, and I said that I would mediate, if these guys wanted to talk, because they've been friends for 20 years, and sometimes when it looks like a shard is going to be successful, I guess depending on what your reasons for wanting to make a shard is, right? What your reason is, it could change the way that it could change your motivation. If your motivation is money or power or something like that, and you start to get a little bit of it, right, you might go off the deep end a little bit. And it seems like maybe something like that happened, and that's why this coup happened, is because people wanted power or something. And, I've ran into this myself, where I've worked with coders who think they're so special because they're hosting it on their, daddy's money server or something. And they have a server, so, they'll offer to make a shard with you, but then if things start to look like they're going really well, they might not have been interested, but now they're all of a sudden more interested and maybe trying to take over. And, they say you're 50-50, or they're building you a shard, and all of a sudden it's their shard. And then the next thing you know, they're giving their friend a blaze hat that nobody else on the shard has. And it's just because that person is their friend, really. And, it's like a glaring sign that there's favoritism here, and they didn't talk to you about it first, but they just did it. And they're like, it's okay because I also am the coder and I'm so important, right? And, meanwhile, they don't teach you anything about how to code because they also want to be the important coder, and they don't want to share that. So, that's why I think we're stuck with a handful of goons that are running all the shards, because they haven't taught anybody how to do anything. They don't teach people how to run shards. I mean, sometimes they do, right? And not even just sometimes they do. I mean, there's like the whole serve UO, and there's lots of effort to help modders and stuff like that in the community. But in terms of sharing the power, these guys can't even come to the Discord to defend themselves. That's how much of a power trip they're on. That's how I feel about it. They're on such a power trip that they can't even come to the Discord and say, oops, I made a mistake. Because it's a power trip at that point. They're tripping on the power. They just need it that bad, and they're so desperate for it, they'll slander people that are their critics right into the ground. Shane, Trolliosis, some dude, cups all the time, right? Myself now, look at what's going on with me, right? It's a harassment campaign just for asking for better moderation. And, for pointing out, links between Outlands and some bad actors out there, right? It's ridiculous, But, it's not something you want to get into if you're new to the community. Just isn't. And this community has been pretty hard done by in the past. We've had, you have to wonder, who are these people that are in this development, in this emulation community, right? This is Zach Torkelson. If you look at his LinkedIn, it says right on here, he was the technical founder of RunUO, right? Beginning as a hobby, this is Krrios, by the way. It says, beginning as a hobby to learn more about game development, Zach's skill set grew quickly in both breadth and depth. He produced what came to be the leading Ultima Online emulation software. His work introduced computer programming to a global community of video game enthusiasts, many of whom would later apply those skills to join the wider software development industry. I wonder who he's talking about. It'd be nice to know, But I think, and here's the part we're going to get into now, talking about who is the Guardian, right? Where did I come from, and what's my story, and why am I doing this? Why am I making all these videos? Well, it all started with a friend of mine. It all started with a friend of mine named Cups, and I was playing on a server called UO Forever, and at the time, this isn't my history as the Guardian, but this is the history of the channel. There was a friend of mine named Cups, and he was always getting banned and stuff like that, and I was trying to stand up for him. And I played on a shard. I had like 1 billion gold on this shard, and they were really just laying into Cups because he was being critical, and they were just, it seemed like the shard owners were letting anybody harass that person, Cups, for being critical, and it was anything goes, rule violations against Cups, basically. Something that they were always talking about was Cups. He was drinking. He had a lot of pain. He was in pain from an injury, and he was self-medicating with alcohol. And so everyone was always picking on him about his drinking in this UO Forever channel. I was sick and tired of it. You can't really it's hard to even say something about that, right? Because you want to also bring it up, right, and make it worse, right? But I was trying to defend him in there, and I really didn't get anywhere with it, and I was pretty upset about that. I was trying to do something for Cups there, and I basically just quit that shard. I gave up all my 1 billion gold. I hosted a big event so that the admin couldn't just ban me, so that I could definitely give that wealth away and, kind of hurt the server for what I felt was, letting Cups get ripped on. Later on, I kind of realized that I think Shane was kind of letting his critics get ripped on a little bit, because there was also a harassment campaign going on about Shane, and so anytime Shane wasn't, in the hot seat getting all the abuse, was a good day for Shane. And so maybe that had something to do with why he was letting Cups get hurt. And it's kind of this revelation which made me create this channel. But I also want to talk a little bit about where I came from and where this whole movement started. And it started right at the beginning. It started for me back on OSI in the 90s. I played on Sonoma, and, I don't want to sound like a terrible narcissist here or anything, but I was a very good PvPer. I was one of the skilled players, right? And, I also knew a lot about the game. I kind of have this play style of debugging, right? I'm a debugger, right? Like, if you've ever heard of this Manfred character, who goes around, I guess he went around using integer overflow bugs to, make a negative stack of coins. And with a negative stack of coins, you can make unlimited purchases, right? And that's what this person was doing, right? I also noticed later on, when I returned to Ultima Online after the 90s, sometime in the 2000s, that there were no integer overflow bugs that worked. They were really very carefully and meticulously fixed. So there were no integer overflow bugs. And I always really wondered about why that was. I only kind of found out recently when I learned about this Manfred character. I guess he was making so much money selling this gold that he was making that he was able to just live off that for some years, right? And if you're a debugger, it's a very powerful thing. It's a very powerful thing if you're a game tester and you like to debug. If that's your play style, you're going to learn a lot more about the game than other players ever really learn, because they're kind of playing the game more the way that they were intended to play the game. And if you only ever did that, then you wouldn't really run into any bugs, because, that's usually the path of the most testing, right? The path that most people are going to go down. So just playing regularly and whatnot. For me, when I was a kid, I was playing Super Nintendo games, and I found a lot of bugs in Super Nintendo games. And that kind of, the sketch bug in Final Fantasy VI happened to us because we had the original version of Final Fantasy VI growing up, which had the sketch bug, and that happened to us because it was pretty easy to have that happen. And when it happens, you get rich basically, because you have like a stack of the best sword in the game, and you can just equip all your characters with it. And so it makes, you know, as far as a cheat goes, it's a pretty powerful cheat that kind of just happened to us when we were kids. So that's how we got into cheats. And that's how we found out about debugging and cheats and that there were bugs at all. Right. And ever since then, I kind of was fascinated by these bugs because really, you know, you can get rich from those things. Right. And it wasn't really a big thing for me, though. When I started playing Ultima Online, I was mostly interested in the player versus player aspect, and I was really happy to be able to share my, you know, show people my house in the game, like I couldn't do on Ultima 8 Pagan, where I had a house full of loot that I just claimed it was an NPC house. So I just took it over, put all my loot in there. And I always wished I could share it with people, and then finally Ultima Online came out, and I was able to do that. And so I was really fascinated with the player versus player aspect and being able to finally play against other players, which was, you know, a way bigger challenge than anything that had ever existed before with the old AI. And, you know, wasn't very challenging, right? But player versus player was a good challenge. And I really got into it on Sonoma. Until one day, you know, before I go into what happened on Sonoma, I will say that one thing that happened on Sonoma that was great was the Gellum Farms was created. The dual pit at Gellum Farms. Basically, players started using Gellum Farms as a dual pit at some point in the 90s. And this happened on Sonoma. It was a very popular place to go and duel. And there were a lot of people that dueled on Sonoma. And like I said already, I was a skilled player. I was very good at dueling, right? My footwork was very random, and I could predict other players' moves. In a T2A combat environment, predicting somebody's moves in the dual pit, that's what it's all about. Footwork and predicting what the other player is going to do. And trying to, you know, make it hard for them to predict what you're going to do. And so I had gotten very good at this. And I was really happy at the time because at the Gellum Farms dual pit, players enforced, I think this is the first time this ever happened in history. Players started to enforce their own code of conduct. Forget the town guards. That's a part of the game. That's a code of conduct that's enforced by the game. This code of conduct was being enforced by players. They wouldn't let you attack someone who was dueling if you weren't part of that duel. If you attacked duelers in the middle of their duel, like you tried to kill someone right at the end of the duel, players would just kill you. And that's how they enforced this code of conduct at this duel pit. And it was really cool. You know, this was the golden age of Ultima Online. And this is what is really awesome. It's when players take, you know, personal responsibility and take onus to really enforce their own code of conduct. And that is something that I think should be embraced a lot more. I think that what happened eventually is that these skilled players, you know, were basically getting all the attention. The game owners who, you know, in the very earliest days of Ultima Online, they weren't calling themselves game masters, they were calling themselves gods because they really felt like gods, like, you know, and they really just didn't. We were all, I mean, there were no industry veterans at the time when Ultima Online came out. It's the first MMO, right? So it's the first MMORPG, I guess, and you know, back at the time, there was really nobody with experience, so, you know, they didn't know to look out for things like GMs making their own castle deeds and selling them on eBay, which was going on, right? And they didn't really know how to treat players either, because we were all noobs, right? Like these days, we know noobs can cause problems when there's a shard situation, and you know, I wanted that Maduke to come to the UO Scams Discord to try to rekindle these guys' friendship from 20-year friendship, right? Maybe they just need a space where they can have that mediated properly for them. And our Ultima Online isn't that space. But, you know, either way, I had found, now going back to the Guardian story here, on OSI on Sonoma, this is what happened. There were GMs who basically put invisible walls all the way around Gellum pits in Gellum. And they were hosting their own little duel tournament. And so what were the invisible walls for, you might ask? Well, those would be to keep out the skilled players from this tournament, right? This was a tournament that was for unskilled players, you could say, that wanted to feel skilled by winning an official tournament on an official shard. And so, as one of these skilled players, who was probably the player that they were trying to keep out, I was really upset about this. And I actually found a way to break into that dual pit that they created in Gellum Pits. And here's the way I did it. Back in the day, the way that it used to work, and this is what you can do. If you make a moon gate while you're riding a boat, and you move your boat, and you go through that moon gate is going to exist on the other side. When you go back through that moon gate, it doesn't matter that you moved with the moon gate on the boat. The spot that that moon gate is for is on the water. So if you gate from your boat, move the boat, walk through the gate, go through the gate again, you end up back on the water. And now you're standing on the water. So what happens when you are standing on the water? Well, nothing happens unless you log in and you're standing on water. They added a feature where if you got stranded basically on the water, because maybe you were out there on the water and your boat decayed, and so you log in and your boat is gone, or maybe someone stole it and you're not there, it's not underneath you anymore. When you log in, you're on the water and you're stranded. It would take you back to the last tile of land that you were standing on. And so the reason that I was able to, I guess it wasn't in the 90s, it must have been the 2000s, because there was Trammel moonstones at the time. And so this is just after they added Trammel. So this would be in like 2000, in the year 2000 on Sonoma. And they were hosting this tournament where they were blocking out skilled players with invisible walls. And I basically found a way to use these Trammel moonstones in conjunction with the water gating and going to the last tile of land that you were on. You could also, while standing on the water and before logging out and logging in to go back to land, you could also go through a Trammel moon gate while you were standing on the water. You just drop the Trammel moonstone on the water, go through the Trammel moon gate, you end up on the water in Trammel. And I'm not sure if you needed to log out and log back in. As soon as you hit that water, maybe in Trammel, you might have got pushed back to the last tile of land that you're standing on. But you would be in the Trammel facet instead of the Felucca facet. And so using this trick, I was able to go to the Gellum Jewel Pits in Trammel, and that's where the last tile of land I was standing on. I went through a gate onto my boat, and my other character made a gate for me to walk through so that the last tile of land I was standing on was in Gellum Pits. I went through that gate, and that went to the water, and then I used the Trammel Moonstone and bounced back to inside the Gellum Jewel Pits, now in Felucca, past the invisible walls, and I just smeared everybody. I killed every single jeweler there. The GMs couldn't even target me with the ban. It took them forever. Like, I basically killed everybody while they were all able to fight me all at once. And it was a joke. And it was a huge joke. I was really upset about the way that I had already been treated by the staff there. I had traded a water tile in a bag rare for a house that was just slightly improperly placed. I say slightly improperly placed. I think it actually had a tree inside of it. So maybe not so slightly, but in my opinion at the time, I was really upset because I traded big for that house. It was a nice place. It was a nice spot in Moonglow. And eventually they just condemned all those houses. There was no refund at all. They took no onus for their bad code job, which allowed players to basically scam people with poorly placed houses that eventually got condemned, right? Another thing that they did that I didn't appreciate was the purple items. When the factions came out, if you stole the faction sigil, there was a way that you could take off your clothes, which would have been dyed purple, and they would have stayed purple and never been changed back because they didn't code the system very well. But what they did is they decided to ban anybody who had this purple clothing. They just decided to ban anybody who had it. It was kind of a neonish color, and nobody really had these neon colored clothes at the time, so it really stood out. They might have had some plans to monetize clothing at the time, so it's really hard to say, but they were banning people just for owning. Which means that, again, if you're a scammer, you could have just made as much of that clothing as you wanted and put it on your vendor. And if the GMs didn't see it, well, players might have bought it, and then if you got caught with it, well, you'd have been permanently banned. It's ridiculous, right? But that's what they were doing. They really just didn't care how they treated their players there at all on official. And this is the whole crux of the issue. This is why people wanted to go away from official. They drove players away from it by selling out, the skill-based economy and all the skilled players. That's what they did. They wanted to protect their income, and so they screwed over the skilled players to do it. And in doing so, it's no longer, I wouldn't accept for people to call this free shard drama at all, because it's not free shard drama. It's the entire industry now because of what they did when they added Trammel. Now every game is Trammel, so it's the entire industry. And Trammel is just a symbol of these GMs basically taking power away from skilled players and giving it to themselves. All right. So that's how this story started for me. I didn't play for a little while until eventually I started to play mmorpg 2. So I think I was working a lot in real life. I missed mmorpg 1. I didn't really play it at all. And then mmorpg 2 came along, IPY2. And I played that. And this was by the WTF men. They made a bunch of flash videos back in the 90s, the WTF men, about how the admins were bad because they're treating players bad, right? They're treating players poorly. And WTFman.com was this website where they had a bunch of, retaliatory imagery against the shard admins who were, not treating people fairly and not treating them fairly. And this mmorpg IPY was their server, right? So it was their server, which meant it was supposed to be about, protecting the skilled players, because they were skilled players. Ronald McDonald, this was their chief complaint. They were too skilled. The GMs were harassing them, right? And it was the biggest staple, or not staple, but it was a big thing for Ultima Online back in the day. WTFman.com, back in the golden age, it was a big thing, right? And mmorpg, then you would expect to be fully Feluca, right? There's not going to be safe areas. There's not going to be safe places to farm. But here's what happened. I found, using my same old boat strategy, I think what they probably did is they fixed that thing that I did to break into the Jellum dual pits to kill all their players. Because they kicked me out or something, and then I went back there and did it again. And they were watching that second time. And so they fixed this system. They changed the way that it worked. So that later on, when IPY2 came around, the strandedness system was a lot different. And instead of taking you to the last plot of land that you're on, these days, and on Run UO, it's typically a bunch of different spots that are kind of close to the shoreline, all over the map. And there's spots in T2A as well. There's one right by Papa Inn. There's a couple in there. And so using this strategy of gating to the water and then logging out, and using camping even to log out on the water, or to log out characters on a boat with camping and then move the boat so that they can log in right after, you can get into T2A. And I broke into T2A on IPY2. And what did I find? I found champ spawns that were active. And I was able to mark a rune there. And I found that I wasn't able to recall back to T2A because it gave me a system message that said I needed to visit the donation shop to get access to T2A. So they're selling basically T2A access so that people can farm champs privately. And in T2A, you could ride mounts. So it was funny because if you broke in there, you could get on a mount and it would kick you off of the mount if you recalled out. So that's how they programmed it. If you recalled out of T2A, then you would get kicked off the mount and you wouldn't be able to ride it in the mainland anymore. But then if you used the Serpent Pillar, you didn't actually recall into that, into the non-T2A land. And so you were able to stay on the horse. And so I did that. And, I caused a big scene. And Azeroth was really mad at me for doing that. He was going to ban me for a day. And I just told him, fuck you, man. Because I was done with it. I was done with it as soon as I found out that there was private farming and that this wasn't really Felucca. I was done with it. And I vowed in that moment to kill that shard, no matter what it took. I found a bug where I could dupe a bunch of gold by killing all these cannoneers over and over and over. These NPCs that I was basically creating as fast as I wanted. No cooldown, no cost. And they each dropped 100 gold. So a buddy of mine made me a script that just placed 5. It was the maximum you could place. So it placed 5 of these cannoneers right beside each other. And then shot it with a cannon all at once. Killed them. I had another character standing there that would just loot all the gold into the bank. And I basically bought every item on that shard. And eventually it died. So I killed IPY2. I killed it because it was corrupt. It was a complete false advertising scam in my eyes because you can't lay claim to being IPY or a successor to IPY. If they really tarnished the WTF man legacy when they did what they did by selling out, T2A or even planning to, even if all they ever did was plan to sell it and set up the donation shop that way and didn't do it. I find that highly suspect just because of all the effort that went into that with the mounts and the champ spawns and and whatnot. And so that's what happened with IPY2. Before that was Hybrid. I played Hybrid around that same time, Eurogamers Hybrid, and they had been selling gold to players. I guess they were selling items. And I guess maybe straight gold no, they were selling items, I think. But there was a lot of people that said that they were just giving their buddies gold as much as they wanted. And billions or trillions of gold, right? But, when I found out about that on Hybrid, I used to go around killing players in town. I would kill all the players in town. They'd come recall to the bank. And they would have to go pee or something, get rid of that coffee they just drank, right? Or go and get a coffee or something. They would recall to the bank and they wouldn't even bank their gold before they went to go grab their coffee or go have a pee, right? And I guess some of them might have just had a phone call or something, and so they had to get off the game and they recalled to the bank in town where they thought they'd be safe. But they weren't safe there because I could kill them in town. And I killed, I think, 1,000 players like that. Full dry looted all their gold, everything. And, as a result, basically, every single, I think people just eventually stopped playing that Hybrid, right? There was a character named Mute Muse who used to follow me around while I killed players in town, trying to call the guards and stuff like that. And trying to help people with scripts to call the guards and stuff like that. But he really couldn't do anything about me at all. And so I won in the end. Hybrid died, and that's what happened to Hybrid. There were other times when on shards, they just weren't really doing very much. They weren't really hosting events and stuff. And Relpor was one example of that, although they had Alan, aka Mob of Monsters, who was throwing events that were really good quality. So I shouldn't say that they weren't really doing any events. It's just that things were kind of dying on Relpor, and they really needed to do more. And I had found a bug where I was just trying to get some extra gold, right? I had a guild going on Relpor, and I basically just wanted to throw down some tournaments and have some tournaments, dice tournaments and stuff like that. So that I could help the shard, right? And, I had found a bug where I could dupe a bunch of gold. It was such a bad dupe, though. I basically just duped for 1 hour. I duped 2 million gold in 1 hour with this bug. And then I reported it to Admiralist immediately. I still had the gold that I made or whatever. I think he let me keep it in the end, but then they shut the shard down like some weeks later, right? But, I think I at least had an opportunity to use some of that gold to sponsor at least one tournament, right? But either way, I was just trying to get noticed by the staff and trying to get hired as an event manager, right? people accuse me of duping on Relpor or whatever. They don't know that I reported that immediately, right? So, you know, it's nice that the GMs let me keep the gold. I guess it was because they were just going to shut that shard down anyways, right? In retrospect, but I didn't understand why they did that at the time. You know, I did say it was for events. I was hoping to use it if they were going to let me keep it. I did ask them to let me keep that 2 mil so that I could use it for events, right? And so anyways, they agreed to do that. So that's what happened there. Let's see. So that's hybrid, IPY2. Then there was UO Forever was next. I was with my buddies Pol and Kalki. And I brought them to T2A on UO Forever after Relpor shut down. And lo and behold, what did we find on UO Forever, you might ask? In T2A, active champ spawns. That's right. Where power scrolls drop, so that's why people want to do that. Champ spawns are like the group content in Feluca, basically. This is the top tier content for just, you know, stock run UO. The champ spawns are the content, the top content for multiplayer PvP, right? Group PvP. So the best players are supposed to get the best loot in the game, and these champ spawns drop the best loot. And, you know, if you have a group, then it's easier to kind of control these champs. And that's what players do. Like the Money Guild on UO Outlands. That Bobby, the leader of the Money Guild, is another one that the emulation community went and slandered. Owen went and slandered. Talking about him behind his back and trying to get his guild to all quit, or just trying to get his guild to basically kick the guild master and stay playing. Right? Or else everyone would be banned. That was the threat there. So they all quit, obviously. And there's EQMS, who was friends with Money Guild. That was Gluttony, who went to Albion instead of playing Outlands. And in no time at all, in just a couple of months, as Outlands was brand new, all of a sudden EQMS, which was Arc on Albion, had 10,000 players in it. And they would not come to Ultima Online. He wasn't going to bring 10,000 players to Outlands. He wasn't going to bring them to Outlands specifically. Because he already knew it was going to be just a unprofessionally hosted problem, right? He didn't want to bring his guild there because Owen keeps doing this to guild masters and to guilds. He did it to Rat Guild I don't know how many times. That shallow tip that I mentioned there, his beef, you know, he didn't want to get involved with the whole extortion thing, right? They've already kicked members out of their guild and allowed Owen to slander their friends. They have no honor in that guild, apparently. It's just so crazy because they came and they totally backed me up on SP when, you know, ADMINS was selling out Feluca, right? They quit the shard with me. And so it was really weird when all of a sudden I posted that first video in the Rat Discord channel. And, you know, they backed me. At first somebody came at me, and I think they kicked him right out of the guild for coming out of guildmate. But then the next day I woke up and I wasn't even in the channel anymore and nobody said anything to me. So it didn't make any sense, right? It doesn't make any sense except for that they're catering to this bully, right? And that's why I say, you know, shallow tip, right? Like, he doesn't want to get involved, right? He's not coming with me on this journey to try and protect players. Well, what does it say about you, man? What does it say about you when you're happy to just sit there in a guild that you know isn't even a real guild? Because you're not allowed to be loyal to your friends in it. It's ridiculous, right? That's where we're at now. On UOF, when I found out that they were selling those they had the champ access going in the T2A, at that moment I was like, okay, my buddy Mob of Monsters, aka Alan from Relpor, is on UO Forever now. That's why I went there, right? And I was helping debug and trying to help him, you know, succeed with UOF and make UOF great for the players and all that kind of stuff. But I was really disheartened to find those champ spawns on T2A, and I think the GMs were like, don't even talk about it or something. They might have said something about that, or I don't remember, but you know, I had already heard about Slayer spellbooks being given out by Shane. The Slayer spellbooks would basically be used to do double damage, even against champ bosses. So this, you know, all that kind of stuff kills shards, and it's like, you know, everyone's playing here. Why are you trying to kill your shard? Why don't you just be legitimate, right? But anyways, that didn't happen. So immediately, as soon as I found those champ spawns happening on T2A, I went and started looking for a bug where I could get all the gold I could, so that I could kind of, you know, do whatever I wanted with this shard. And I didn't take it seriously anymore after that, right? So I basically went and I found a bug where I could dupe gold sync items. Just a little drink of water there. Sorry, and I basically found a way to dupe the gold sync items. The pure white cloth. Everyone hated Shane's prices. He's the guy that was running UOF at the time. He posted something about, you know, he posted his prices and everyone didn't like him, but he was just like, oh, I'm just going to keep doing it anyways. You know, 500k per yard for the pure white back when nobody had any gold at all on the server. So to have such expensive sync items really kind of affected the economy. And because I found a way to dupe them, I basically, and at the time that I found this dupe, nobody even had enough gold to buy discounted gold sync items from me, right? I basically took a bunch of gold by selling these gold sync items, and I created a big, huge mall at Ubank, purchased a PvP house with Pole. I gave it to Pole, and he built a huge house there for, you know, pet trapping and stuff, get those pets off the field, right? And, you know, we really kind of coordinated to create this kind of hotspot, which, you know, it was already a hotspot before I got there, but with that house, we started adding all the PKs to it and supplying them with potions and gear and stuff like that, and so nobody really had to do anything but PvP. And so every single day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there was PvP on UOF, right outside of our house, right by the bridge. For like at least a year. It was like a year and a half or something that continued on. And I just kept buying potions and sinking, taking all the money that was supposed to go towards sinking and sinking it into action, basically. And, you know, I wanted to do that because I thought it would be healthier for the shard, and indeed it was, until the GMs decided they were going to take over, and they started condemning the house, and they started interfering with PvP there. They were condemning the house, and they jailed all of our guild at the same time to tell us to stop using the house for PvP. They moved the house away from a building because we were using doors to trap people with it. You know, they didn't need to go through there. But it was funny anyways. We were trying to incite some anger so that people would, you know, PvP in the field with us. And it was working. It was really fun, and it was a great time. And, you know, that's basically my history. I have been so sick and tired of corrupt admins since the 90s. And there doesn't seem to be any end in sight, because people seem to kind of gravitate towards becoming shard owners that maybe want that authority or that power trip, right? They just want to abuse people. So, you know, in terms of false narratives, and I understand that this video is getting a little bit long here, but you know, when it comes to the subreddit now, no, I really think that it would be nice if I could just be a moderator there, and then from now on I wouldn't have to make these videos, because I wouldn't have to tell people not to play Ultima Online. And but I don't think it's ever going to happen. You know, we even asked the Reddit admins for attention, and they didn't even get back to us. They don't care, you know. Their policy is that you can complain about anything, but you might never hear from admins. And that's true. I've never heard back from them about any of this stuff on our Ultima Online, any of the mod code of conduct violations, the being harassed by the mods nonstop, them going around channel to channel to slander me, basically. They are saying, they're just lying about me being the troll. They're the trolls, right? And as long as they're out there saying I'm the troll, they're not taking personal responsibility. And they're not going to be able to catch Casino time and time next time. So, as long as I'm not able to be a mod, that's because they're out there calling me a troll, or thinking I'm a troll, saying I'm a troll. I think they know the truth here at this point. And I don't understand why they can't do right. But, you know, go through the Season 1 timeline here. I started by trying to defend myself. Then, you know, immediately the campaign of harassment against me started. I've lost friends over it. If this was somebody else who wasn't above it going through it, they could get hurt. I'm not going to get hurt, though, but they could get hurt, and they have gotten hurt in the past. And that's why I'm doing this, right? Anybody who knows better about scams and stuff like that should say something. Should try to protect people from them. That's what makes them good people, right? So, you know, if it was different and the players were enforcing a code of conduct that didn't allow for these people to do what they're doing, then I could say play you woe. I would love if we, as players, were able to take back the game and take back the skill-based economy and tell these admins they're not allowed to do these things to us anymore. It's not their role. It's not what they're there for. They're not there to be the coolest person and the most powerful person. The skilled players are supposed to be the most powerful people in Felucca. So don't disenfranchise them. Nobody thinks you're good if you're an emulator of that. You know, here's what basically happened when the whole cups thing was going down on UO forever. I had this plan basically. And this is why people call me the Guardian, just because for 20 years or so, I've been able to basically disconnect players. And the way that you do this is that the emulators are all broken in the sense that they allow the item limit to be breached. Every single shard I've ever played on allows you to put as many items inside a container as you want by just unstacking gold inside that container and putting it into a bag that's too full. The gold doesn't go back in the stack, but the stack doesn't drop on the ground. So the stack stays in the container and the unstacked coins keep unstacking and not stacking back into that stack. So eventually you'll end up with a box full of coins if you just keep doing it on loop. Keep doing that on loop. You can fill the box with as many coins as you want. If you had 7,000 coins in the box and broke it, all the coins go to your feet on the same exact spot. And so anybody who comes on screen of that 7,000 coins is going to lose connection. The person who breaks the box isn't going to lose connection unless they have a couple of clients running on the same screen. Then you might crash on both clients. And it depends on what client that you're using. If you're using the official client, it's usually the safest one. 7,000 coins will disconnect you, though. That's pretty much where the official client will start to break down. Some of the newer ones, it's a little bit less. But, you know, there was one circumstance where this one kind of douchey kid named Deuteronomy was going around on UO forever and putting, you know, he's a pirate, right? So he's going around getting people's boat keys and getting on their boat and trying to steal their boats, right? And, or charge them a fee, right? He's a role player too, so I can't really hate this guy or anything, but, you know, the thing I hated about him was him calling the GMs to get other players off of his boat when his whole MO was stealing people's boats that way. And so, you know, at one point, a buddy of mine stole his boat, and then he got the GMs to give his boat back to him. And after that, you know, I think Deuteronomy stole one of my guildmates' boats. And I was like, no. I was like, I'm just gonna put a box of 7,000 coins on a boat, and I'm gonna send that boat flying towards Deuteronomy's boat where his ghost is on my guildmate's boat. That's why my guildmate couldn't take his boat back, because this ghost was on it. And so the coins, I planned it out so that the boat would just slide right past the ghost boat with the ghost on it and disconnect him while he's probably AFK and not watching. And then 60 seconds later, I showed up and deeded the boat because the ghost was gone. But that other boat was also gone way off screen by the time I got to the ghost boat. So it didn't disconnect me right. And Deuteronomy was mad, obviously. He complained to the GMs. He was like sure that I disconnected him somehow, even though he didn't know how it happened, right? He didn't know what happened, so he reported it. And Alan came to talk to me about it. I had already told Alan about how this works. The problem is, you know, with all these free shards and everything, and even the official shards with the deceptive messaging these days, it's hard to know who to trust when you're a debugger like that. And you're using your debugging skills not for yourself, not to make money for yourself, but to try and kill these shards that are scams. And Alan came to talk to me, and I had already talked to him about that. I knew Alan was a good guy that I could trust with that information. So I talked to him about how to fix the problem with the too many coins in the box thing, right? And he's not the only person I told, but sometimes you tell the people that are right people, and even with the most care and caution, sometimes still somebody who shouldn't know finds out, right? And somebody found out through me that shouldn't have known about how to do that. Somebody who was a very competitive player and could have used it to really damage a server, or really just hurt the PvP, right? By cheating, by using the too many coins in a box in PvP or something, which is something I never did. I didn't even usually like that. I think the most that I ever did with that was we used the coins in the box to shut down Brit Bank on a shard every once in a while. It's kind of just a random tradition. Every couple of years we'd go to a bank and we'd drop a box with too many coins, and all the players would basically be disconnected, right? Anybody coming to the bank would disconnect, and I basically wanted to see which GMs kind of knew about it as well, in case I ever saw anybody using this for PvP or anything dishonorable like that, right? I've always been kind of guarding these shards from this too many coins in a box thing, but I never saw anybody do it. I've never seen anybody do it. I never saw a shard freeze up and hang and it was just over. That's what happens when you put too many coins in the box, like 60,000 coins. If you get to 60,000 coins in a box and you drop that, it's going to be the same effect as the 7,000 coins. But if you drop 60,000 coins on a boat, it will start to lag the shard. Every 1 in 8 ticks, there's 8 ticks in the game loop, I guess. This is how it works. So each tick kind of handles a certain amount of actions that players are doing out there, right? The things that are happening out there are getting handled by these ticks. But there's a limit to how much they can handle. And that limit is probably somewhere around 800,000 coins on a moving boat, because the whole shard will just freeze at that point. That's basically the time stop spell that I created with too many coins in a box. But if you put 60,000 on a boat, it just kind of lags once every few seconds. You'll lag for a few seconds, and then once every few seconds you'll lag for a few seconds again, and it kind of continues like that, right? That's time slow, right? These are 9th circle spells. It's kind of a joke, right? But that the Guardian has. The Guardian is this character from Ultima Online, which can basically travel around through black gates in the ethereal plane and, kind of pop up out of nowhere, right? And has the ability to do that. So I guess, having the ability to have these 9th circle time stop and time slow spells, at my disposal. But I never saw anybody using them. And typically in games where you see players weaponizing stack overflows, because that's what that is, they're doing it because they don't want to lose their gear, right? They have this really expensive piece of gear. They don't want to lose it if they die. So they'll crash the whole shard to get their item back if they die, right? And that's kind of what I've been guarding the community from. It's because these emulators are all broken. The people that made them don't debug properly. They don't really play the game, right? That's why a lot of them, I feel, are doing this emulating thing, right? And so, that's basically where I came from. When these people were treating cups so poorly, I was kind of planning on giving away all my items. And then I was going to go to every shard. And I was going to do the box thing. The 1,000,000 coins on a boat thing. Just over and over. Every time they reload the shard, I'd just do it again. There was nothing anybody could do about this. I had already tested it on Outlands. I'd already tested it so many times on Neo Forever. Like 3 times that I crashed their bank. And, enough times just with boats and stuff to see how things would work. But in my career, never froze a shard up entirely. I just tested to see and make sure that I could do it. And then I was going to do this huge role play where I shut down all the shards and made all the admins behave. But even if I did that, I wouldn't be getting what I wanted. What I really want is for players to uphold this code on their own. That's what I'm looking for here. go back to the time when, you know, there wasn't this false narrative that it's the role of the admins to babysit the way that they do. It's not their role. We have the ability already to decide what kind of code of conduct that we like and don't, and which players, you know, we're going to let be successful or not, or which shards we're going to let be successful or not, if they're, you know, acting or behaving a certain way. And so just a little drink of water there. I think we're pretty much done. This video is almost 2 hours long, but it's a season finale, and like I say, season 2 is going to be a lot shorter, a lot more concise videos. I don't have as much to talk about. You know, I'm not going to go into my whole history in any more of these videos. That's pretty much it. That's what I wanted to tell you. That's why they call me the Guardian. I wouldn't let anybody use that technology that I just mentioned to kill shards. And I was always out there looking for it. If any time a shard ever had frozen, you know, I might have had to tell those GMs what they might have had to fix, right? It just never happened. So eventually, you know, the wrong person found out. And that's kind of what I wanted to mention. Like, I'm looking back at the cheats and stuff like that too, right? Where did the cheats come from? Well, you know, even the earliest clients, like I think the pre-alpha Ultima Online client, you know, even the earliest versions of the clients had God clients. And these God clients are basically a client version that has little options where you can tweak this little thing or that little thing, or targeting time, or just the littlest, tiniest things that you wouldn't expect would make a player so much better than you, right? When I went to Eurogamers Hybrid, I think it was like 2009 or something, you know, I couldn't figure out how players were beating me who had worse footwork than me, less random footwork, and I could predict all their moves, and yet they were still beating me. And I think what happened is maybe this Torkelson guy here had, you know, helped out these enthusiasts, many of whom would later apply those skills to join the wider software development industry, right? It seems like this guy he made the Krrios client, right? So he probably had a God client version of that Krrios client, and I think a lot of people think that he shared that with some people, right? Kind of like me sharing my information with people like Alan so they could protect, you know, from it, right? Protect people from it. Protect their servers that they were making from it. And I basically go around now and I share all that information with all these servers because the wrong person found out, a PvPer found out, and I wasn't going to let him, you know, just crash shards so his guild could win or something, right? Basically, it came time to just kind of tell everybody what was going on. But you can see how you wouldn't want to entrust that kind of information with just Johnny, free shard owner, who's just really just a player, and he could go out and do crashing of all kinds of other servers, right? So it's something that I kind of had to keep as a closely guarded secret. And, you know, I think in the end what happened was this Krrios client, this God mode, the God client of this Krrios client got released to a certain couple of people or something, and ever since then there's been some ego problems in the emulation community, if you know what I mean. So I wouldn't be surprised if that actually is what happened with the Krrios client, and you know, that wouldn't surprise me. But you know, who am I to say? I really have not been able to get any information about this emulation community that's behind the scenes slandering their critics. And you know, even when you shove it into somebody's face like Punk Day that, you know, your logic is wrong here with how you've come to conclude that you know somebody based on just reputation and hearsay, buddy. Like, he's not going to come to the Euroscams channel and say he was wrong because it's a power trip, right? He's hoping that these players will come to a shard and they won't care that the skill gain takes forever, and, you know, he's trying to hook some players there, I guess. That's why you'd want to add slow skill gain on a small shard that you don't even feel like making a website for. You want what? You want to punish your players for playing there too? You want to make it real hard for them? Because he really wants people to, you know, end up hooked by, you know, their devotion that they've already put in, their time investment or whatever, right? But it seems like at the end of the day, you know, it looks really bad that they won't come to the channel, and they just kind of feel like it's okay to slander someone just based on hearsay. It's really annoying, so I don't know what to do about it, but I'm hoping that eventually I will see Guardian of Ultima's name in the mod list on our Ultima Online, and then, you know, I'll at least be there to timely moderate things like casino time and get rid of those. So, you know, it's not just me that has had to go through this whole slander, this whole campaign of harassment and slander by Owen and Luthien and whoever else is complicit to it. My rat guild mates who just, you know, wouldn't even come and talk to me like man about it. And, you know, Shallow Tip and Magical Man who lives in my shadow in the swamp for years and apparently, you know, thought I was a pretty cool guy. So I guess, but, you know, still don't really care what your opinion is about me. You know, something has to happen here. Something has to change. I want to play as much as Magical Man does. I know he's just a PvPer. He just wants to have a shard to play on. And with UO Guardian of Ultima going around exposing them all for being corrupt, this whole little emulation community, well, that's not really helpful to these guys, right? So I get that part too, but, you know, something has to be done here, and it has to be done soon. So, you know, the next thing you know, I just say, you know, this is why these guys won't come to clear things up. They're on a power trip. They can't give up their power because it's all they are. All of that power is derived from leveraging players' items and, you know, their skills once they finally finish the skill gain, and their friendships. When there's money involved, or hard skill gains like Puncty wants on ShadowWage Reborn, you know, or even paywalled skill gains. I heard about this coming to a WoW community, which, you know, Macro Planet also is on the Classic WoW thing there. He's a moderator of Classic WoW, our Classic WoW, I guess, or our WoW Classic. I can't remember what it's called, but, you know, I guess something that I heard about WoW or Blizzard's next idea here is that they're gonna make it so that you can't even finish your characters until you've subscribed for a few months, and then you'll be able to finish skilling. Seriously, right? Like, it's such a cash grab, you know. Players need to start looking at whether or not the shards that they're joining are being hosted by somebody who really wants to show them a good time, or is it just being hosted by somebody who wants to just sell them content, right? I feel like Outlands is one of those ones where it's just content that you're buying. They're just trying to sell you content. They're not trying to sell you Feluca. They're not trying to stick to their promises or deliver on what they say they're going to do. This is their own thing, and they're going to do it however they want. And, you know, this is why Owen hasn't come to the channel, I think, is because he doesn't think he's done anything wrong. It's his shard to do with whatever he wants, and if that means taking players to jail to ask them for money, well, he can do that if he wants to. Looks like that's what he did to me, but, you know, he won't come and also say that that's not what he did, so it looks even more like that's what happened to me, right? And I guess I'll just sit here waiting in the UO Scams Discord for these people to come and finally admit what's been going on here. So finally say it's over, or at least, you know, come to defend themselves if that's what they want to do. That's your recourse. Come and get your recourse. Don't say, oh, we've got no recourse, and oh, boo-hoo, like, we're not able to have recourse against this Guardian of Ultima because what? Can't come to my channel? You're too... Oh, but I don't want to do that. Well, then I guess you do want to be, you know, talked about however somebody's talking about you that you don't like. I guess, like, makes sense, right? Anyways, thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much for all the views on this season. You know, it's not even, you know, it just warms my heart to see that players are actually being informed. I really didn't think this was going anywhere. I was never going to put the effort in, and I never planned on putting any effort into these videos because I was just coming to defend myself, and, you know, I really didn't see this going anywhere, but players are listening, and so I appreciate that. I do respect this cause, and the next season is going to be much different. I've also got something really special planned for this Christmas. It's coming up soon, so stay attention to the channel, and I hope that you like what's coming here, and I hope you'll stay tuned for season 2. All right, thanks again. Cheers.